College wrestling is back on Iowa PBS. Tune in for 5 weeks of exciting action and online at iowapbs.org.
Murph and Andy, proudly presented by Ramsey Subaru and BMW of Des Moines. Live and on demand across Iowa everywhere. From the Channel Seed Studios. This is Murph and Andy. Murph and Andy. Connected by Cellular Advantage.
Let's do it. Welcome to Murph and Andy live on Iowa Everywhere. Andy Fales in West Des Moines, Andrew Downs in Urbandale, and I'm in Tempe in front of a curtain.
That's really the best you could do. It does.
It is.
It's just a curtain.
Yeah, right outside, right through, on the other side of those curtains, a mountain, a pool. It's beautiful.
Allegedly.
But it's 55 degrees right now. And I didn't bring sufficient clothing for what the cold is here. It's not like Florida or Texas or Louisiana right now, but people are freaking out here that it was in the 20s this morning in Arizona.
Yeah, I was kind of looking around at temperatures around the country last night, and it's crazy, the kind of stuff that people are seeing. I was looking at Amarillo, Texas, in the Texas Panhandle. Panhandle was 22 degrees. My hometown of St. Louis was colder than it was here. Yeah, it just, the farther south that you go, it seemed like the more winter they were going through last night. Obviously, we had it at the beginning of the week, but yeah, they're freaking out about this. They don't see this. I kind of enjoy that, though. I like it when they get a little taste every now and then.
10 inches of snow in Pensacola, Florida.
Crazy.
That is crazy. AD, need you to be a judge right now. Background contest today. Who's got it? Andy or me with my homage to The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson?
I have to go with Andy. I have to go with Andy on this one. Yeah.
That's what I figured. Okay. Guest House Tavern and Oyster in West Des Moines sets the table for today's sports and more. Coming up, Cyclone bounce back, Hawkeye apathy, and a Buckeye flip-flop. It's all presented by Guest House Tavern, Northwoods-inspired Midwestern hospitality. Now, high or low since our last show.
Presented by Wealth Charter Retirement Planning and Tax.
So there are lots of changes for retirement accounts coming this year in 2025. And Tim Hawkins and the team there at Wealth Charter are your guys to help simplify things for you. Find them online at wealthcharterretirement.com. I'm going low today.
Oh, Wednesday low.
Yeah, I mean, Wednesday's kind of tough, but right now, man, I don't know, Andrew, does it seem like everybody's sick right now?
Everybody.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Friends, coworkers, people notably absent from Farrell's this morning. I mean, it's going on right now. I mean, we forget about this. I mean, on top of all the things that suck about January in Iowa, you forget about this. I mean, you get these sick waves that go through.
Yes.
Yeah,
if you're not like
waves.
fully, like influenza A positive, you have something. Like, I'm not sick, but I got a little itch in my throat and a little thing going on with my sinuses.
Exactly.
It's rough.
I got a little bit of a runny nose right now that I can't stop. It's been going for a long time. But over at WHO 13, there has been somebody sick in the newsroom to the point where I just thought, like, just come over and spit on me. Let's get this over with. Just come over here and put it on me.
Yeah, and, I mean, it puts you at kind of a crossroads, right? Because you can hear how sick that person is.
Yeah.
And they need to go home. But if they do go home, there's nobody to cover their job. So you're just
dominoes start to fall.
Maybe I'll just pretend I don't hear them. Yeah, right. I mean, it's just like you got to have. I'm sure all kinds of people can relate to this. I mean, you work at a place where you don't have a lot of staff, and if one person is out, then it affects everybody else. You have multiple people out, it really can screw things up. And you feel for managers at this time of the year as they're just trying to keep the balls in the air, right? And keep the whole thing from falling apart.
We are here in Tempe. We're visiting Colin, who goes to Arizona State, also visited Cody, who lives nearby. But Colin last night picked us up in a Waymo, and that's going to be my high because I enjoy Waymo. For those watching on YouTube, you can see us riding around in the Waymo. Colin's in the front seat. Waymos are driverless cars.
Yeah, autonomous vehicles. Yeah.
Yeah, to and from the airport in a Waymo. And Colin loves Waymo. He says he's dating Waymo at this point, and Waymo that's his gal.
That's a Subaru right there.
Is it?
I think
the Waymo's a Subaru.
Well, in this case, it is. Yeah.
Oh,
I think
okay.
so. Yeah, it looks like a Subaru to me. Yeah.
Wasn't sure, but we had
not
another,
a Ramsey Subaru, but a Subaru nonetheless, I believe.
Probably coming at some point. But we had a really pleasant ride, and I get a kick out of it. It's been nothing but fun, but it just freaks people out. Like it just immediately you hear people that will comment when they see a video of you riding in a Waymo, like, absolutely not, no way, taking your life in your own hands. Colin feels like he's safer going around Tempe in a Waymo than he is with most of the Uber drivers.
I think that's true. I think that's true.
With.
Yeah, I think that's true. I was listening to a Malcolm Gladwell podcast where he was he did a deep dive on the autonomous vehicles and their safety, and apparently they are safer.
Really?
They don't because they don't react emotionally to their surroundings. That was part of it. I do have a question about autonomous vehicles. Are you allowed to ride in the driver's seat? I mean, if you don't touch the pedals or the steering wheel, I mean, it's an open seat, right?
I believe it's a no, because if you touch the wheel or the horn in any way, it stops and tells you not to do that. And there are cameras and there are people keeping up with this. I know somebody watched this video last night and they said, Waymo, man, why don't you just turn over everything in your life, because now Waymo can track you and Waymo has your data and Waymo has your information. And it's like, you mean like the phone I'm carrying? I mean, I just assume at this point I'm being tracked everywhere, and any electronic device you're using has the potential, including YouTube or Facebook or X or whatever you're using. I feel like they're probably tracking us. And how many times have you mentioned something and then had that show up as an ad within the next few minutes?
Yeah, they're listening.
I
Randy
think I'd
says
like to see the Eagles at the Sphere in Las Vegas. Next thing you know, there's an ad for Eagles tickets.
Yeah. Randy says that's a Jaguar. You can see the logo on the steering wheel, and he's right. As I look closely through these bifocals here, I can see. Yeah, it's a Jaguar
Waymo.
Wow,
Waymo
that is high on the hog. You guys are living down there. What is that, Tempe?
Yeah, Tempe.
Yeah, that's really, I know that's a very nice school.
But it's the
very highbrow school.
The cost of the Waymo is less than an Uber ride, and there's not a tip.
Yeah,
so
and you can ride a Jaguar too. Yeah,
is a Waymo fan. Interact on YouTube. And the email is Murph_Andy at iowaeverywhere.com. On X, it's Murph_Andy. It is all powered by the Cellular Advantage. Now with 35 Central Iowa locations, proud partner with U.S. Cellular since 1993. A lot of Waymo comments coming in there on the YouTube comments, that's for sure. But right now, it's time to get the buzz.
The Buzz. Brought to you by Logier Heating and Cooling.
Logier Heating and Cooling, proudly serving the Des Moines metro community for more than 115 years. Not serving Tempe, where we are not convinced that there's actually heat in this hotel. We set it at a certain temperature, and last night I turned to Jenny and I said, "Are you cold?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm colder than I was when we were in Des Moines." So maybe this is like a hassle situation. I heard him on Two Guys say that they don't even have heat in their Florida home. I'm not sure they have heat in this hotel.
They don't have heat?
I don't know it. We were cold last night, and you shouldn't go to Tempe.
Can't you
to be
turn
colder.
the thermostat like up to
We turned it to 74,
and that's
we're still cold.
And it wasn't blowing out any hot air or anything? Well, I mean,
no. I don't know. But
guess it's Arizona.
Lozier, house call to Tempe, please. Let's get the buzz here. The Hawkeyes, let's start with that. I know the Cyclones won, and I know they won big, and we'll get to that in a moment. But I think more of the talker is the Hawkeyes losing at home to last place Minnesota, 72-67. This is a season low for Iowa. Minnesota was 1-6 in the Big Ten, and this game is at Carver Hawkeye Arena, where we are expecting a bounce back after that awful L.A. trip to UCLA and USC. Pat Hardy, a reporter who's followed the Hawkeyes for a long time, said this is the smallest crowd he's seen for a Big Ten game in 30 years of covering Iowa. The attendance was announced at 8,000. It was way below that. It's not a shock that some people made the decision not to come. This is an 8 p.m. game. It was really cold in Iowa. But, of course, this goes well beyond that, and the team couldn't respond. So this is it's a really bad loss for Iowa. And, Andy, it feels to me like even the Fran McCaffrey defenders have checked out, that this was this seems to be the straw that broke even the most passionate defenders back.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly what we're hearing, and you can understand. I mean, it there's a problem when you can hear the opposing fans very clearly on the television when you're watching a game, your team play a game at home, and you could, for many stretches, it seems like you could really hear the Minnesota fan. I mean, you could hear, it was quiet in there. You could hear an old man farting into a pillow. I mean, it was really quiet. It was, just a really bad stretch there. They seemed to turn it on there at the end, but too late. I wonder how many fans were left by that point, by the time they cut it to 5 there. And
I think it got it down to 3.
Three, yeah, made a run. So I mean, it's time to start having this conversation, which I'm sure everybody's already started having, but we haven't had it.
They have. I have seen a couple of notable Fran McCaffrey defenders that just rolled over after this one and said, okay, it's time to, what's the succession plan here? And AD, I don't think, were you to this point before last night's game? I feel like you've talked about this a little bit the past week.
Yeah, I've been teetering for sure. And, out of last season and going into this season, I was clear that, Iowa can't survive another season like last year. They needed to have a bounce back. Now, I was still optimistic and still hopeful that it would happen and they would find a way. That L.A. trip was really rough, especially coming off, a couple of nice wins. A really good game against Indiana where the defense played really well and the effort was really there. That L.A.
Good comeback against Nebraska.
Yeah, absolutely. The LA trip, they're on the road and, there's some other circumstances there. Really thought they would come and get a bounce back here. And the fact that they didn't, and then just the crowd size, the apathy within the fan base, the seeming, again, I don't want to say they're not trying. I'm sure they are. I know they are. But it just, there's not much passion. It doesn't seem like there's not a lot of fight on the bench or on the floor. And so it's really gotten to a disappointing place. And, as sad as it is, I don't see any other way out at this point. It doesn't feel like, short of some sort of miraculous run here, which even that is going to feel like it falls short when they don't make the second weekend of the tournament. The bet is made here, I think, and it's time to make a move.
The way out is the Sweet 16, but this now, after last night, seems like an uphill battle just to get into the NCAA tournament. It doesn't seem like it. It is an uphill battle. Is it possible? Yes. It doesn't seem likely, though, and that's the problem here. And, Andy, it's always, and we try to be cautious about this, you want to be really careful when you try to speculate about effort, because you just don't know what is in somebody else's mind, or even maybe what they might be going through in their personal life or whatever. But AD is right. There's something that's not reaching the players. they're saying the right things, but they seem out of place. They don't seem passionate out there. The effort doesn't seem like what it was. And Fran McCaffrey seems like a different coach. He just seems to be missing the fire. Is he missing the fire? I don't know. Is he actually already checked out? I don't know, but something is off here from the top all the way down, and maybe they can still turn it around. I don't know, but it looked really bad last night.
Well, I mean, we don't know the inside goings on in the Iowa locker room, but we do know human nature. We're all experts on that. It is hard to stay mentally checked in when things aren't going well. I mean, it's hard not to get down. It's also hard to continue buying in when the coach has not had success. I mean, real success, the success that we give credit for. I mean, you can bring a new guy in and he doesn't have any track record of that school, and then, you buy into his enthusiasm and his plan and that. But sooner or later, if the proof isn't in the pudding, people want the pudding and they don't believe the proof anymore. I mean, it's just not something that holds any water anymore with anybody. And I don't know. I mean, we've seen that Fran McCaffrey can take players and make them better. I mean, he has absolutely. I mean, he's really been remarkable at that in a number of occasions. But as far as, being a guy that's, capable of making a Big Ten champion, a Big Ten conference champion, or a consistent conference tournament winner, or somebody that has any modicum of success in the NCAA. I mean, he does not have that on his resume. So I think it's harder and harder the longer he's there to buy in. I mean, the question is not buying in, it's buyouts right now, right?
Yeah, that's what it comes down to, because he's under contract to 28. I think there's 3 more years after this one. The buyout would be 60% of the salary, which is pushing up on $4 million a year. So I think you're looking at around a $6 million buyout, which could not.
In this
come
world,
at a
it's
worse
not
time.
that bad. Yeah, but I mean,
it's not that bad. But you're
still
about to have
$6
the
million.
revenue sharing, so they have to start setting aside more than $20 million for the revenue sharing. In COVID, they took out, the athletic department did that big loan that they're still paying back. So it's a rough time for a buyout. But when you see, even with the cold, even with the late tip, when you see Carver Hawkeye Arena look like the COVID era for attendance last night, now Beth Getz has a real big problem and decision to make here. Like, how much worse can the Apathy get if they don't make, as AD said, a miraculous run down the stretch here? And we sure didn't see a sign of any miraculous run coming last night.
Right. I mean, that's really kind of the death knell, right, for a coach. I mean, you can look the other way, and Gary Barta did look the other way on a lot of stuff with Fran McCaffrey. But when fan apathy sets in and the home games are full of empty seats, you can't look the other way on that. And we've seen athletic directors have to pull the trigger on coaches that they like a lot,
yes,
that may even, have a really good history with the school, but they can't ignore that. I mean, that's the bottom line. That is, keeping your program, especially a men's basketball program. I mean, that's one of the hood ornaments of your whole university. Keeping that in positive headlines is one of the main jobs of the athletic director. And, she's been there long enough now where, nothing she does will be ruled, a knee-jerk reaction. She's surveyed the scene long enough. So it does seem like a year where she's got to consider doing something. Maybe she already is. I do think it's interesting, all of the fans that think that Darren DeVries is just going to dump this job in West Virginia and come to Iowa. I do not think that is any sort of sure thing.
He's at a better basketball program right now.
He is. Yes,
he is.
He loves Iowa, and his family is connected to Iowa.
He grew up a Hawkeye fan, so there's a lot of. I mean, that emotional pull to home is worth a lot. So I certainly think it's something that could happen, but I don't think
it would have to be.
It.
No, you can't assume it. And he would have a buyout there. Fran would have a buyout here. Mm-hmm. There would be a lot of money. But I do think that it seems to me like this is the year. He does not also seem to me, and we know Darren DeVries well. We do. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would leave a program after 1 year or leave a job after 1 year.
No, he doesn't.
He just doesn't. I mean, he's certainly.
Although I said that about Keno Davis.
Yeah, we didn't know Keno Davis, right? And that was a Drake job. That was a Drake job. Yeah, and Darren DeVries didn't leave the Drake job, and he had plenty of opportunities. So there's another reason. But I just think that the longer he stays there, if he continues to have success, the longer he stays there, the less likely it is that he's ever going to coach at Iowa.
And he could develop a Southern accent.
I mean, because he's going to have. Just going to build on what he's got there, and there will be far more prestigious programs than Iowa coming after him.
Daniel writes, thank Gary Barta. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Gary Barta,
I agree. I agree with
it. It must be said, did give a contract extension when there was no need to give one. I mean, I ended up doing a commentary on that at the time because there was no reason. Nobody was trying to hire Fran McCaffery, despite whatever rumors or speculation might have been floated out there intentionally to create this false narrative. But he wasn't going to get a better job than Iowa, and there was no need. There were years left on the contract. So now you do have this. And the people that say, like, well, Fran McCaffery, he seems checked out. He should just do the right thing and just walk away. Would you walk away from $6 million? I mean, there might be a negotiation for some kind of buyout if it comes to that, but none of us would walk away from $6 million just to do the right thing. That's a lot of money.
I also just don't think that that's in him. I don't think he's a guy that would resign from a job. I don't think so.
Well, it's going to get interesting. And I saw in the comments here, Chris also in our YouTube comments wrote, how much worse do you think this is? I'm paraphrasing, because of Iowa State's success. Absolutely, that factors in. When Cyclones do it with Hawkeye fans and Hawkeyes do it with Cyclone, when you have a comparison in your state and you see what's going on with Iowa State's basketball program under TJ Otzelberger, and the fact that he came in out of a 0 Big 12 conference win season and went to the Sweet 16 in his first year, that doesn't exactly cry you have to have patience if you make a change.
That's the key. It tells you that this can turn very quickly. If you get the right coach who brings in the right system and can get the right players in a span of, in a couple of years, you can go from 0 and whatever in the Big 12 to a top 5 team in the country.
Absolutely. And the Iowa women's success has also been rough on Fran McCaffery because it shot holes in all those theories about drawing fans to Carver Hawkeye Arena. Games are too late. The students aren't there.
Bridge is too long.
It's too cold outside. That kind of stuff. None of that stuff mattered at all when Caitlin Clark was there.
All right, let's get to a quickie poll from WCI Pools and Spas in Ames and Urbandale.
What hurts the Iowa Hawkeye basketball, or what hurts Iowa Hawkeye basketball most this season? Isn't defense or lack thereof, rebounding or lack thereof, fan apathy or coaching?
Well, all of these things are hurting Iowa basketball, of course, and the fan apathy, I think, is a result of these things. But I agree with the majority here right now. What this approach 15 years in to still not be playing defense and still be out of position for rebounding, why hasn't that been addressed after a decade and a half?
Well, I don't know. It's the way he coaches. Be a leopard changing his spots, I think, right? That's been his thing. But yeah, record-wise, how they've done on the basketball court, I think you have to point to defense. I mean, that's what's hurt them the most on the court. Overall, it's been the coach.
Oh, defense has taken the lead here in the vote. Last time I looked at it, it was coaching, but defense. Yeah, and those kind of go hand in glove. Mm-hmm. But I understand, AD, which of these has caused you the most angst?
It's fan apathy, because that's the killer. That's the thing you can't overcome, you can't change, you can't coach out of. The fans have checked out. They don't care. It would take a miracle this season to get – I'm taking the family to the Wisconsin game in early February. I'm worried we're going to be the only people there. I guess it'll be nice there won't be lines for, Carver cones and things like that. People just don't care. I see it on social media. I feel it in myself. I didn't watch all of last night's game because it's like, what am I going to ruin my night for a team that's not going anywhere, for a program that seems kind of checked out? That's the killer. The rest of this is certainly an issue. The thing you can't overcome, and the thing Beth Getz has to face right now, is that fan apathy.
But it is tough too. I know you, AD, is a good fan, and many other good Hawkeye fans. Like you want to support the players that are
Absolutely.
giving effort and want
Sanford
to win.
Came back for this, right? Exactly.
So it does get complicated, and I'm sure it's difficult to be one of the people in one of these jobs or on the team and hear this kind of talk. Other hot topics today on Murph and Andy here on a Wednesday. 3 days after scoring 57 points at West Virginia, Iowa State hangs 108 on UCF. 25-point win, and quite the answer to any concerns out there, including Milan Momcilovic having surgery on his hand and being out 4 to 6 weeks. But, Andy, this is the most points Iowa State has ever scored in a Big 12 game.
They were just getting it from everywhere. Starters, bench guys, and Josh Jefferson in just about every way that you can score. He was doing everything in that game. I think he probably had me comparing him to Marcus Fizer. We've been talking about him lately. A big guy that looks that complete. He's had some off games, but man, when he's on, he's doing everything, including shooting free throws, which is always amazing at this level. They were close early in this game, which is hard to believe. I mean, pretty far into the game, this was a competitive game.
Yeah, it was like a 2-point game.
But then they blew the lid off. But it is funny how we're just like, well, they'll be fine without Milan. And then the next game, boy, they are not going to be fine without Milan. And then the next game, well, they'll be fine without him.
Yeah, they're good. Jefferson, 30 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals. To your point of doing it all, Keyshawn Gilbert with 21 points and 8 assists. It's a 25-point win for the Cyclones. By the way, a couple of video thanks there. That was Mark Freund at WHO 13 with that video. Blake Hornstein with Hawkeye headquarters with the Iowa video that we saw previously. So Iowa State 16-2, 6-1 in the Big 12, and next up, Arizona State down the street here, and the Sun Devils won at West Virginia last night. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, at West Virginia, right?
West Virginia.
Yeah, I mean that's the Big 12 is a crazy place, but I mean on the road, beating a team that just stormed the court after being the number 2 team in the nation. That's a tough pill for Darren DeVries to swallow. That doesn't look good. But I mean, I guess it looks good for the Big 12.
Maybe they should get rid of him.
Yeah, just cut him.
Yeah, cut him loose.
AD is always working the angles. Let's back up to the national championship football game where Ohio State beat Notre Dame 34-23. Looked early like it was going to be a Buckeye runaway. Didn't turn out that way. So, Andy, we have this unusual circumstance in this new college football 12-team playoff. Ohio State is 4th in the Big Ten, had 2 losses, lost to its arch rival at home as a 19-point favorite, and then went on an incredible run where Ohio State beat 5 top 5 teams since November, which is more than Notre Dame has beaten the past 19 years.
Yeah, I'm sure this will go down in some sort of history book. If it weren't Ohio State and, a program we just kind of expect this kind of stuff. Usually what the thing stopping from Ohio State doing this all the time is they're never in this position, right? Where they've lost some games and they can, have this opportunity to surprise anybody. They're usually just the top ranked team or one of the top ranked teams, and they have the easiest path because they've earned it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really thought that they were just done after that Michigan game. And clearly they were too talented to be done, but it seemed like Ryan Day had lost the locker room and they were tail spinning. But whatever he did, I mean, he recovered it. He got it back, and that was impressive the other night.
It really was. But it's just interesting because, of course, Ohio State fans are celebrating as they should. We would all like to have our team win a national championship. But these are the same fans. There was reporting this week that Ryan Day had to get security after that loss to Michigan. That is how upset Buckeye fans were. And we had conversations here on Murph and Andy about, is he gone if he doesn't win the national championship? Mm-hmm. And there were people who thought that he would be, although we realized that they had a chance to win it just because there's so much talent on that team. So when you look at it, you could say like, well, Ryan Day likes to say it's us against the world. It is impressive you came back to win this, but it's also really not impressive that you found a way to lose to Michigan at home. Yeah. Like, how did that even happen?
Yeah, that's probably that's like the footnote coming out of this year, right? I mean, that's the asterisk. By the way, this incredible team that pulled off this incredible run got stomped at the Horseshoe by Michigan and made a fool of themselves afterwards. It's just like it's like that one of these things that it's not like the other, doesn't belong. Right. It's really weird, but I don't know that in the game. I mean, Notre Dame just could not have had. I mean, they had that really impressive first drive for the touchdown. It really looked like we were going to see something, and then Ohio State just was like,
they shut that down.
Jeez.
Yeah, they have so much talent, and that's another point to make. Is like Kirk Herbstreit said after the game. Ohio State went to hell and back to earn it. To hell and back, you've got
it's a pretty nice hell.
You've got like a $30 to $50 million roster full of 5-star players. You didn't go to hell and back.
I know they felt bad.
Hard.
Okay, they felt bad.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that was bad, was their feelings.
All right, so I haven't seen the ratings for Monday night. We did talk about the lack of buzz that was out there, and I'm sure there are going to be discussions about how to fix this going forward. It does seem like college football needs to maybe start a week earlier. Would love to see them get rid of the conference championship games and get this playoff started sooner, get it going. It does feel like an easy thing to do would be you need to move back toward New Year's Day, which was always college football's identity. You go after the divisional playoffs in the NFL, and for most people, you just – with the exception of the fans of those teams, you kind of lose some interest.
No one wants to feel like they have to make their plans based on somebody else. They want to be no. We're the ones that set the agenda.
Do what we want.
Now, okay, that can apply as long as you're not talking about the NFL. I mean, if you're talking about the NFL, you need to do whatever you can to get the hell out of the way. Or really, I think you could apply that to just football, like big football. The biggest football is the biggest dog at the dish consistently, whether it's high school, college, pros, whatever. The NFL, once they're into really, honestly, once they're into the playoffs, and probably even before then, man, you are fighting for scraps if you're college football, even at that level with something as new and innovative as a 12-team college football playoff. It just, I mean, it started great, But then again, it started back before Christmas. That thing took too damn long.
It did take too long. You know who it was good for? AD, take a step forward here. The Big Ten Conference is having a moment.
Yeah.
Back-to-back national championships, and both of those championships played without SEC teams in them. So if we're talking about what's the best conference the past 10 years, it's the SEC. What's the best conference the past 20 years? It's the SEC. But if you're talking about what's the best conference the past 2 years, you have to say it's the Big Ten.
And Ohio State beat 2 SEC teams on the way to get there.
Yeah.
I saw Paul Feinbaum even had to say, you know what?
Feinbaum?
Big Ten owns college
Feinbaum?
football right now. I know, of all
Really?
people.
That couldn't have been easy.
That's good, though. I mean, right? I mean, the SEC was starting to look like they could just do whatever they wanted. Now the Big Ten is, on pretty equal ground. So I don't know that this is a victory for the Big 12 or anybody else, but it is good that we at least have, we have something divided by 2 instead of the SEC just hogging the whole thing.
Yeah, and those Cinderella teams from Ohio State and Michigan finally doing something in football. Confluence is the official beer of Murph and Andy. Confluence is where good things come together, but there's not confluence in Tempe, Arizona, which is why I'm enjoying a delicious soft drink.
I still remember the time you opened that Confluence beer and let it just sit there the entire podcast.
Let's get some more.
But wait, there's more. From Either Or Eatery and Patio.
Either Or is kicking it over there at 6222 Grand Avenue right now. Still have some Christmas lights up on the outside, but it just looks good. Inside, nice and warm, and some new menu items there to start the new year in 2025. So give it a try. The city of Waukee has moved trick-or-treating to Halloween night. They joined the parade.
Gee, that parade's getting to be a long parade.
Yeah, lots of other cities have gone ahead and done this. Some other cities are still considering this. I think this is what these other cities are probably going to end up doing. Some of them have taken votes, and those votes have come out largely in favor of moving it to Halloween night. But other cities considering the same move include Clive, Johnston, Pleasant Hill, Polk City, and West Des Moines. Speaking of West Des Moines, that has approved the 3rd ice rink over at the Mid-American RecPlex.
Good news for the hockey fans.
It is really good news. It is. And this has been talked about for a long time. I have been told for a long time that this was going to happen. But until they, actually took some sort of formal vote to get the process started, it was just kind of sitting there as an idea. Well, the West Des Moines City Council was there last night. They approved the first steps of the planning process there. Talked to a number of the people out there. It's crazy because this is really needed by the entire RecPlex and not just for hockey. I've been out there a bunch of times, but I don't think I've looked at either of the hockey rinks during the summer when I've been out there. And they don't have ice there in the summer. They cover those over, and they do volleyball, they do wrestling, they do conventions, they do Junior Olympics and the senior games. I mean, they do all sorts of stuff on these other surfaces, and those 2 rinks that they've got are full all the time. Wow. The field area is full all the time. I was talking to the general manager, Shane Ratcliffe, over there yesterday, and I mean that place is absolutely booked. It's like the Murph and Andy podcast. It's just completely booked every single day. He says, I mean, people are on the ice at 6 a.m. and they'll leave at 11 o'clock at night or midnight even on Fridays and Saturdays. Same with that giant turf area and the basketball. I mean, they need to expand yesterday. So this is probably going to be something where the funding starts coming in pretty quickly, and they're able to start on this at the end of this coming summer, and they hope to have it complete by the end of 2026. And then there are even ideas for another expansion after that.
By the way, when you just said 2026, I thought, well, that's a long ways away.
Nope, next year.
And I remembered, it's 2025. I'm
Next
not moved
year.
into that space yet.
The advertising slogan of a Bavarian ski resort has been banned out of
Why is that?
concern that it might offend British visitors to the upcoming Alpine Skiing World Cup. The resort's slogan pays homage to a local mountain called Mount Wank. And the slogan is simply, I love wank. There you go.
Love wank.
Good job, Andrew. The slogan had to be removed from the gondolas. There's a gondola right here. I guess they've had to remove that. Traveling up the mountainside, and plans to have I love wank carved into the snow had to be scrapped. In the UK, a wanker is kind of an insult.
Right.
Wanking is
Yep.
like jerking. Yeah, like jerking. Yeah. Pleasuring oneself. I've always thought that was a funny word. Wanker. It's just a wanker. Look at all these wankers coming in. When
This
they're
probably
throwing
this
look
probably
at
sells
that
a lot of
wanker
gear,
right
though.
there. Huh?
You might as well. They probably sell a lot of T-shirts and stickers and stuff like that with "I love wank" on it, and it's a little bit like if you're the South Carolina Gamecocks, you just lean
Yeah, I
into
love
it.
cock.
And you sell "I love cocks." I love
Yeah, and I don't know that they would be offended by that kind of thing. I think it's kind of funny, actually. 10 most popular hot sauces across the country.
Here
Ready?
we go. Yep.
Number 1, Frank's Red Hot.
Love it. That's my favorite.
I do
Thank
too.
you, Brian Cooney, for making my life better by introducing me to Frank's Red Hot sauce on popcorn.
I eat a lot of that. That's our number 1 here in the Fales household. The Hui Fong Foods version of sriracha. There's a lot of sriracha out there, but that's the most popular one. They went through a shortage of that stuff not too long ago. I think it's back on the shelves, but it was hard to find. The Cholula, we've got some of that too. Berman's, which I've never heard of. Taco Bell. That is the best fast food hot sauce, I think. It's better than Taco Jim's.
Oh, I'll smash some Taco Bell. That's great.
That's good hot sauce they've got. Tabasco sauce, which is the stuff I grew up on. My old man, I mean, he loved Tabasco sauce. That was all. I think I thought that was the only hot sauce there was until I went to college and got introduced to Frank's. Texas Pete, I've heard of that one. Louisiana brand, that's kind of like the El Cheapo one that's out there. It's good too, though. Tapatio and Valentina, and we've got like a 1 quart size version of Valentina. It's like the bottle that doesn't fit anywhere in your kitchen. You know, it's too big for the refrigerator door or the cabinet. It's just, you're like, why did we get this giant bottle? Speaking of hot sauces, Andrew, let's play a little ASMR of an Asian chick eating hot wings.
This sound reminds me of somebody I used to work with. Stop.
One more.
No.
That is huge. I guess in Japan and Korea, people pay
So
money
weird.
to
That's so
watch
nasty.
that stuff. Well,
AD turned that volume up extra loud, didn't he?
No, that's what it was like.
that's what it was like. Yeah. They have these hypersensitive microphones. I think sometimes they even have several of them. A Tennessee man was arrested for breaking into his mother's home and dumping his relative's ashes into her toilet.
Oh my gosh.
Arrested in Memphis over the weekend. Here he is. Broke into his mom's home, poured a relative's cremated ashes into her toilet. The mom said her son, Adele Totten, had broken a window and entered the home. Really wanted to do this. He was committed. She claimed that her son then took down the indoor security cameras before putting the deceased relative into the toilet, and then he used the toilet on top of it.
Oh my gosh. 1 or 2?
He sat down, I think. I don't know. It could be either one, I guess. But,
That's rough. That's rough.
Either one. Number 2 is more offensive. Look.
2 is worse. But there's an expression, man, I wouldn't piss on your ashes.
Yeah,
or maybe
yeah.
I would piss on your ashes. But I think it's still worse. Somebody drops a deuce on your ashes. That's worse, right? That's more egregious.
Yeah,
AD, break the
maybe
tie.
maybe he just hated this guy. I think dropping a deuce on is probably worse. Yeah,
That's probably
taking a
worse.
Shit on
That-
somebody, literally.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Pissing on someone's ashes, though. What is the expression about someone being on fire? Is it I wouldn't
piss on them if they were on fire. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. He's been charged with aggravated burglary and abuse of a corpse,
abuse of a corpse?
which is
It-
weird because the corpse has been burned.
Yeah,
they
ashes are
abused
still
it
a corpse?
already.
I mean, I know there's like crazy
Yeah.
laws and stuff surrounding what you have to do with people's remains.
It was like burning it was the abuse of
Yeah.
the corpse.
I mean,
Yeah.
that they checked off on that, of course, so it's all right. But I mean, once it's been burned,
Yeah.
what else can you do?
It's the remains. I guess I don't. think
Putting
of
them in
that
the
as a
toilet,
corpse.
yeah, I guess you have to dispose of them properly. All right, let's take a timeout for a dad joke that I heard at Farrell's today.
All right.
So last night I was reading the dictionary in bed. I got up to pee.
Got it. Yeah.
We'll finish with this. Apparently, Cinemark's National Popcorn Day promotion
Yeah.
worked a little too well. Did you hear about this, Murph?
I did not. What happened?
Well, they told everybody on Sunday they were celebrating National Popcorn Day by letting customers bring in their own personal popcorn bucket to be filled up. Now, they did not apparently do a good enough job of establishing the parameters for what that bucket could look like.
Oh, no.
So people were bringing in like 5-gallon buckets. Look at this
Garbage
is
cans.
a giant stock pot that this woman's got. Yeah, garbage cans. They had the great big Rubbermaid totes, and the people at the theater were filling them up. So
Yeah.
apparently there were lines going way out the door, and they were running out of popcorn inside. That was a Cinemark. So Cinemark theaters, but that's like Jordan Creek here. I think there's one other one in the area, but
So it was BYOB.
yeah, bring your own bucket, and then they filled that stuff up with popcorn. But apparently that didn't go over all that well. Maybe a little too far. So on a day where we're going to go into Mr. Movies, I thought that fit. But that's your more, everybody.
All right. Nicely done. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Mr. Movie.
It's time to go to the movies with Mr. Movie, Mike Woody. Presented by P&P Small Engines.
P&P Small Engines, tune up now and save. Mike Woody, Mr. Movie.
Now, I don't know, Andy, if you got a call. I got a call from P&P saying, hey, we're running a special on
I did too.
tuning up the equipment for the spring. And I said, yeah, let's do it. I mean, I got to do it at some point. So we'll take the special.
Yeah,
All right.
called just the other day, and I was like, that's pretty smart. They're not selling a lot of snow blowers right now, but stay busy. Go ahead and get ahead of the rush for spring. So yeah, they're going to come pick up my mower next week and get it all serviced for spring.
Our out of the box topic from Mr. Movie is a actor-director combo. A director and actor who work well together. What was the catalyst for this? There was somebody we were saying last week there was somebody who was always good when they worked with a particular director. Do you remember who that was last week?
Andy came up with the idea. I don't remember what prompted it though.
Yeah, geez, I should remember, but I don't. But anyway, I'm going to go with comedy here because my
There's a
first
shock.
thought. Yeah, my first thought was towards some of those Scorsese combos. I'm going to go with comedy here because some of the movies I've enjoyed the most, the silliest ones, especially I've enjoyed with the kids, are the Will Ferrell, Adam McKay movies. And those include Anchorman, Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, Step Brothers, which is one of my favorites, and the criminally underrated Other Guys. The Other Guys with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, and a quick entrance and exit from Samuel Jackson and The Rock. This is a really funny movie. Most of you have probably seen it. If you haven't, check it out. But the bad part about all this is that Will Ferrell and Adam McKay are no longer friends, so I don't think we're going to see them working together again soon.
God.
Yeah. Did you say thank God? Come on.
Well, you know how he feels about those
Those are
movies.
funny movies.
I
Yeah,
wouldn't watch one of those movies if you tied me to a chair.
Anchorman, Talladega Nights, Step Brothers.
I think you have to if we tied you
Especially
to a
that
chair.
Yeah, if we tie you to a chair and put it on, let's see if we can get that done. All right, Andy, what do you have?
There's a lot of good ideas for this one. I mean, they're just, and it makes sense, right? I mean, actors and directors, they find that they've, they've got chemistry and they keep working together and they crank out some really good movies.
Trust.
There were some pretty obvious ones here, but I tried to go outside the box this one this one a little bit. I was thinking back to my childhood, and one that occurred to me was John Hughes, who was so good at doing teen movies when I was a teen.
Love John
He
Hughes.
really was plugged in and cranked out just a flurry of awesome teen movies in the 80s. And a number of times right there in those movies, really helping make it feel authentic and definitely funny and also kind of vulnerable and real is Anthony Michael Hall. So I'm going to go, they're together in 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club, and Weird Science, which is what I think is going on in this one here. And I loved those movies. And Anthony Michael Hall's kind of growing up through those movies. And I think John Hughes is actually in on National Lampoon's Vacation as well. So there's 4 movies right there that those two collaborated on, and they meant a lot to me when I was growing up.
I think John Hughes wrote Vacation, if I'm not mistaken. But
I think he did too, yeah.
One of the things I like about this choice, Andy, I'm sure you do too, Mr. Movie, is Anthony Michael Hall. Like when he was in The Breakfast Club, he was that rare actor who was actually the age of the person playing. Like he was he was a teenager at that time. I think Judd Nelson was in his early 40s for The Breakfast Club, but Anthony Michael Hall seemed like a real teenager.
Yeah, he did, and he was nerdy and really played the part well, and you kind of maybe knew somebody that was like that, and those two just they made some good music.
They really did. He was so good in so many movies. I mean, just laugh out loud funny.
Yeah, Daniel writes a good nomination, Andy. I would have taken Cusack. John Cusack also had, just several movies. Although I don't know
where else is he with John Hughes though. I mean, I can only think of 16 Candles. He's in a lot of those movies at that time, but I can't think of other John Hughes. I mean, John Hughes was a writer, involved in a lot of that guy cranked out more good stuff over a short period of time than I think probably anybody else.
Yeah, I think John
huge loss.
John Cusack he was Say Anything. That is Cameron Crowe, right?
Right. Yeah.
Cameron Crowe. That's a great movie.
Better Off Dead, which is underrated.
It has got some funny lines and funny times at stoplights. All right, Mr. Movie, who you going with here now that Andy and I have gone highbrow?
Well, I went where you were thinking about going, and I went with Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro, who have made some great movies together. So, I mean, here, Taxi Driver, what a great
I think
movie.
this is the most obvious choice here, right? I mean, these two just really are on the same page.
Yep, and they still are.
Yeah.
So, but it's to even go through the list would take the rest of the segment. But I mean, these guys work together a lot, and there's not a bad movie in there. That's rare.
No, and Leonardo DiCaprio has quite a Scorsese.
That's true.
Body of work that's building. What's he 4 or 5 deep at this point?
Yep.
And the other one when we talk about prestigious movies like this that comes to mind for me. Robert De Niro with Francis Ford Coppola, because he's got Apocalypse Now and
Robert Duvall. You're saying Robert Duvall.
Oh, Robert Duvall. I'm sorry, Robert Duvall. With Apocalypse Now and The Godfathers. Maybe there's something else in there too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I mean, they caught something in a bottle and just, ran with it, and it took them quite far.
Well, Andrew is up next, and we always look forward to seeing what children's animated movie he's going to come up with. So, Andrew, what director of animation teamed up with an animated character that has really sucked you in?
Well, Quentin Tarantino is certainly an animated person, and you could go with him with probably most notably Samuel L. Jackson
Yes.
and Tarantino, but I went with Christoph Waltz and Quentin Tarantino. 2 movies, 2 Oscars. In Inglourious Bastards, he is the most hateable character, and that's a movie that features Hitler. He's just so charismatic, you can't take your eyes off him. You hate him the whole time, and then he comes back in Django Unchained, and you actually get to root for him, and he's just as charismatic. You can't take your eyes off him, but he's on your side now. And those are the only 2 movies I've ever seen with Christoph Waltz. He deserved both Oscars. If the 2 of these ever team up again, I'll be first in line.
That scene in the house where the family is hiding,
That opening scene.
That opening scene that I don't know how long it goes on, but that you're so tense waiting to see what's going to happen. And Mike, he does it without yelling or shouting or anything.
No, that's what makes it so evil. I mean, he's just quietly pure evil.
Yeah, he's using psychology to just cause fear and panic.
Yeah. Really good one from Chris Cannon there. Coen brothers and Steve Buscemi and John Goodman, Frances McDormand. Yeah. Frances McDormand especially. All the way Fargo as well, and a number of crazy chemistry. Isn't she married to one of the Coen brothers?
Yeah, I think she is.
Okay, well,
she is.
That's a little something extra.
Yeah. Denzel Washington and is it Antoine Fuqua?
Antoine
Fuqua, yeah.
And Spike Lee.
Training Day and gosh, the Equalizers. They've made some good movies together. Let's move on to the reviews here as Mufasa tops the box office again this week. And the first review is The Nickel Boys. Tell us about this one, Mr. Movie.
Okay, this, I think you guys know I'm the president of the Iowa Film Critics. Okay, for what that's worth, and it pays me a lot.
A lot of money, yeah, as much as this show.
Yeah.
Not quite that much.
He makes more money at this show.
Everybody on everybody's list was this movie, so I didn't. They all get these the streamers at home and they watch them, and I prefer to watch it in the theater. So I hadn't seen it. It shows up at the Varsity. Sue and I went, I think it was Friday or Saturday night. Not a bad crowd, but not anywhere, there was plenty of seating. And the movie starts, and it's about young black men who are being sent to this camp. But the thing is, you never see the main character's face. I don't think you do. You may or may not, and I'm not going to tell you why, later in the film. So you're constantly just looking at other people, so you have no idea who's speaking to you.
Like a camp for discipline, or a camp for,
Yes.
Is it, okay, so you... It's okay. Try to follow what's going on here.
If most of them don't come back.
Okay.
So true story. So about, I don't know, maybe an hour into the movie, it was so disjointed and weird. I mean, they would just focus on something and you'd have to hear what was happening. Well, something happened to the film. Let's just put it that way. There was this big blob on the screen, but the audio was still going. So we're all sitting there in the theater. Nobody jumps up because they don't know if this is just more weirdness of the film.
And it's not more weirdness of the film. This is actually a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a bona fide blob.
We probably sat there for 15, 20 minutes. And then finally there was like a blip with audio with it. And we're like, oh my God, something happened to the movie.
So you had to go back again?
No, they got it back on, but
Okay.
at that point I had so checked out, it was frightening because it was just, I don't know what everybody else saw in this movie, but it was weird.
It wasn't on your top 10 list. I looked at your top 10 list and it wasn't there.
It was not on my top
Right.
10 list.
So
And
what's
it
the
was-
grade for the Nickel Boys?
Nickel Boys gets a D.
A D. Okay. All right.
So, one of the better reviewed films of the year, and I'm gonna give it a D.
All right. What about Wolfman?
Wolfman. Now, what they're doing, and if you paid attention, which I know neither of you do, you're not known for doing that.
What were you saying?
Universal is going back and they're getting all of these. They redid I think it was last year, The Invisible Man, and now we've got Wolfman. So they're going back to those Universal horror movies, and they're remaking them for new generations.
The Invisible Man was pretty good.
It was pretty good.
That's not a bad idea. I would much rather they do that than do another damn sequel to a comic book movie.
Right. So we've got Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, all of these great old scary movies that are all in the pipeline right now. But Wolfman, it's a B. It's really dark. Really dark.
Well,
in a good way, but
think
It
it was
is the
ever
Wolfman.
supposed to be
yeah.
Isn't
a
Ruth
touchy-feely. Yeah.
Is Ruth from Ozark in this or the star of it?
Yes, she
Okay.
is. And she's really good.
She's a
But
good actress.
holy
Okay,
cow,
so
man. It doesn't
it's a
wait
B.
to jump into the story. It goes right at it.
Goes right into the wolves.
Yeah, you're
the
Good
wolves.
job, Murph.
You're out
Yeah,
in
you're
the
hitting
forest
those L's
walking.
today.
I'm really
Something was
trying,
there.
Andy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So one of the things that happened to me, it was actually it was a low last Friday. Is they pulled September 5, because Russell was telling me they think it's going to get Oscar nominations and they're hoping that will get people into the theaters. So is it this weekend? What's coming out this week? Is September 5 finally coming?
This week, no, it is
No.
not on the list.
Okay.
The Brutalist is on the list with Adrian Brody, which I couldn't figure out what it was. And then CBS Sunday Morning had a story about brutalism, and it's basically architecture. I didn't know.
Yes. But Guy Pearce and Adrian Brody are supposed to be fantastic, and it's a World War II Holocaust-based movie.
it's
But
supposed
I
to
heard on Overthinking with Kenzie and Scott, and I want to get your opinion on this, Mr. Movie, and Andy and AD. So Adrian Brody is considered by many to be, if not a favorite, to win another Best Actor Oscar, certainly to get a nomination. But the sound person on this movie has admitted that they used AI to strengthen his Hungarian accent in the movie. Now, opinions vary on this as to whether does that change the performance. Now, like on one hand, listening to Scott, he was saying, well, that's not completely him acting or his voice then. I think it's a debit against him. On the other, Rami Malek won an Academy Award for playing Freddie Mercury, and that wasn't Rami Malek singing in all those scenes.
Right.
That was
Well,
Freddie Mercury's voice.
yeah.
So what do you think about AI being used to tweak a difficult accent and make it appear more authentic?
I would not be in favor of doing that. Let's just put it that way. But your point about Rami Malek is right. I mean, but people have done that for hundreds of years in movies. But I would say
Used AI to change their voice.
well, used some things to enhance their performance.
Well, I mean, costumes, right? Makeup, that kind of stuff.
Right.
I feel like this is a bridge too far, though. I think this is different than prosthetic noses and lifts and heels and that kind of stuff. And, lip syncing songs. If it's an opera and the guy's lip syncing the whole time, I mean, I think that's different. But Rami Malek acted through most of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
right.
And it's Freddie Mercury, right? I mean,
Nobody's
when
gonna do it.
when it's Val Kilmer doing Jim Morrison, that's
Timothy
one thing.
Chalamet doing Bob Dylan, but try being Freddie
those guys,
Mercury.
Yeah, Freddie Mercury had like a 15 octave voice or some crazy stuff like that. I mean, he was too hard to imitate. But I think this is too much. I mean, this is using an all new technology to, like a computerized technology, to honestly change the guy's vocal performance.
Yeah.
AD, what do
agree.
you think? This bother you? Do you think this should hurt his chances of winning or being nominated for an Oscar?
I do think it should. I don't know that it will, but I do think it should. It feels like this is a step too far. There's going to be a time, there already is times where we can use actors who have passed on and kind of deep fake their performances. Are those going to be eligible for awards? I mean, it's going to get murky here in the next few years with AI, but I do think this is a bridge too far.
You can still enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
Right. And did it really make that much difference how good his accent was? Who cares?
I don't know. This as the president of the
a guy with a bad
Iowa
accent though can
filmmakers,
ruin a movie. We all know that.
Yeah.
That
I think
is
I'm going
true.
to try the AI next week on this show.
Okay. All right.
You
Let's
should.
see how
That
goes.
would be great.
Yeah,
All
like
right.
that.
Well, enjoy the movies, Mr. Movie.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
All right, that's Mr. Movie presented by P&P Small Engine. Iowa Wild giveaway coming up Saturday. Saturday's country night game, and a pair of tickets and on-ice passes. This is the prize, and the winner to the Dylan Scott concert and all the perks that go with it is Jessica Shoguri. Shoguri?
Shoger, I think.
Shoger. Oh, I'm sorry. That's an exclamation point.
Yeah.
Jessica
right.
Shoger. I was adding the exclamation point as an I. It's kind of
and
dark
hey,
here.
Pink does that.
Shoger.
Jessica doesn't need to do anything. She will get an email here in the next hour or so from Aiden Wyatt with instructions, with the digital tickets, and she can enjoy the game and be on ice for the Dylan Scott concert.
Yeah,
That
that's
is
great.
awesome. Congratulations, Jessica Shoger. And Dylan Scott, does he smile at the concert?
He's too tough to smile.
Yeah, that's quite a beer. Jessica will have to report back to us on that. Right now, it's time for Throwdowns.
Throwdowns. It's Throwdowns. Backed by Heartland Tire and Auto.
Heartland Tire and Auto treating you like family in Ankeny, Waukee, Knoxville, Boone, and Creston. Murph, ESPN Bracketology has Iowa and Iowa State, the women's teams, among the last four in the tournament. Will one, both, or neither make the NCAA tournament?
Ooh. I hope both make it, but right now I'm going to predict that Iowa State gets in. And I think it'll be close. I mean, the Cyclones, when playing top 25 teams, are getting blown out. But I think Iowa State will make it in. I don't think Iowa is going to make it. It's going to take quite a turnaround and quite a run to get there. I think that's a transitional year, and they're not going to quite make it.
Well, Murph knows better about that than I would, but I don't know. I feel like Iowa's in a funk right now, so they're not playing up to their potential. I like to believe that they can get out of that funk and
Me too.
and turn it on and still get there. I still feel like I want to say that both make the tournament.
That'd be nice. I'd really like that for Jan Jensen too.
Yeah.
You don't want to not make the tournament after you've made the championship game the past 2 years.
And Iowa State is really in a funk too. I mean, there were really some high expectations for this team this year, and they have
They
not.
started in the top 10.
Yeah.
Iowa at Washington tonight. I know that 8:00. Andy, you, I think, said a few times, we need to wait until the 12-team playoff finishes before we can actually judge it. Well, it's finished. It's time to judge it. Grade the first 12-team college football playoff.
Well, I think it's a B. I think that you clearly saw a team win the title that deserved to win the title. I mean, they absolutely went through the grind, the biggest meat grinder you could have put them through. Ohio State is the best team in this country. I feel like we can say that definitively, but we can also look at, what happened with the buys, the teams that did and didn't get them, and say that we immediately know we want things to be a little bit different. And if you're going to give an A grade, you don't have that to say about anything like that. So I feel like at most you can give it a B right now and say, I feel like you can point out what needs to be changed. And that's a good thing too. I mean, sometimes it didn't work and you don't really know where to start, where to fix it. But I feel like it needs to make some changes, but overall it seemed like it went pretty well.
I agree. I would go B minus, but that's basically a B. If we're not going minus or plus, I would just go B, but I'll go B minus. I think the strengths are what Andy said. It's that by all measures, top five wins, Ohio State's the best team in the country and proved it over the past 6 to 8 weeks. So that's the positive of it, because in the past, that team would not even have been in this tournament. Mm-hmm. So that's a big plus.
That's a really good point.
And we had a marquee matchup at the end with another team that wouldn't have been in the tournament that played well when it counted. So those are real positives. But the way the tournament was seeded needs to be changed. Need more games on college campuses. Need it moved up earlier. Need to have the championship game before the divisional NFL playoffs. There's a lot of tweaks that need to happen that probably can't happen easily, but I do think the best team won.
Yeah, you can't fluke your way to a national championship in a 12-team playoff. Murph, the Chiefs are the most hated team in the NFL. I will always hate the Packers more than anybody else. You don't really have a team, so I'm interested in this.
Yeah.
Who is your least favorite NFL team?
Oh, it's a good question. I think it might just be the Arizona Cardinals, because they just
ballsy to say. Well, you sit in Arizona.
Why?
Exactly.
What do they do?
There's just nothing
know they're
memorable
there.
about them.
When you're in Arizona, you don't know they're there.
But they only got good 1 year when Kurt Warner was here. Mm-hmm. They always seem to underachieve. They don't seem to have a lot of fans everywhere.
They walked out on St. Louis.
They walked out on St. Louis, which was a really douchey thing to do. I don't know. They've given $300 million to a quarterback who's great for a few video game highlights, but does not look capable of actually leading them to a Super Bowl.
Great at video games too, apparently.
Apparently. So I don't know. I don't hate the Cardinals. Hopefully nobody is listening to this around here, but they don't care anyway. They care about the Sun Devils. Who do you think they'd be more excited walking down the street here? Kyler Murray or Cam Scatterbo?
Probably Cam Scatterbo, I guess. This is hard for me. I mean, no kid from St. Louis would pick anything but the Bears, but I don't know. I've hated the Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys have been so hateable in my life, and it's hard to get. I mean, they haven't done anything in so long. They've really been off the radar, but God, when I was growing up, I mean, every kid that every front runner kid was a Cowboys fan.
Do you know this wild stat, Andy? Because it is crazy, and you will appreciate this if you don't already know this. Every NFC team has now been in an NFC championship game since the Cowboys last were. Wow. They have the biggest drought of any team in the NFC.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
You can keep having them go through your mind.
No, I can think of them
it's
all.
A fact. Yep. Crazy.
That is. Jeez. Yeah. And it just seemed like they were infallible for so long, but I don't know. I mean, it's the Cowboy and the Bears are terrible also. So you've hardly heard anything from them.
Ben Johnson.
Yeah, right. There you go. That's going to turn everything around. I don't know. I mean, it's got to be the Cowboys still, right? In the Cowboys, you either love the Cowboys or you hate the Cowboys. It seems like there's no middle ground.
All right, that's Throwdowns.
Time for the Andrew Downs audio drop of the day. We call it the AD Squared.
Powered by Game Day Men's Health. You can check them out Ankeny, West Des Moines, North Liberty on the eastern side of the state. Heading in there tomorrow to get my weekly testosterone booster. Always enjoy that, talking to the people there, and always feel better after getting that done. The Eagles are back in the NFC Championship game. The city of Philadelphia is excited, including Mayor Sherelle Parker.
You all say E-L-G-L-E-S, Eagles! Let's go, Birds!
Did she just misspell Eagles?
Yeah, she missed that A. Yeah.
Say E-L-G-L-E-S, Eagles!
She really started with the A, but then turned it into an L there. E-L.
Yeah, like Jets, Jets, right?
That's
like,
a little easier to spell.
Yeah, keep it short if you're going to spell.
That is a good one. All right, let's check out the Quickie Poll results presented by WCI Pools and Spas.
Which hurts Iowa basketball most this season? Defense, rebounding, fan apathy, or coaching? 44% say it's the defense or lack thereof. 32% say it's coaching. 20% will go with fan apathy, and 4% say it's the rebounding.
Well, we thank you for being part of Murph and Andy here on Iowa Everywhere. I cannot wait to scramble to the bathroom. My teeth are floating, and that's why I'm rocking back and forth. Please like here
Just
on
go on the floor.
YouTube.
You wouldn't be the first one. It's a hotel room.
No, I can tell. There's a spot here. Subscribe if you would. Review if you feel like it. All helps. We're back Friday, and we hope you are too.